Welcome back. We are going to go through a whole recipe for you. So if you want to take some notes and write it down, go ahead. I don't leave it in the comments or anything like that. I just ask that you guys actually watch the video so we can get the full recipe. This is going to be a floral soap as well as I'm going to add some sea salt into it. So something a little bit more exfoliating. If that's what you're looking for, this is going to be it. I always like to do lye water replacements. So I am steeping some tea right now. I've got the water piping hot, and then I am using 3 tea bags. I want to let you know when you're doing your water, if you're going to do a tea or something like that, just make a big pot of it or a bigger batch of it, because you don't want to measure the water before you know, steam up the tea and then stuff evaporates, whatnot, all that. So I went ahead and I got it hot. Then once it was done cooking, after it set for about 10-15 minutes, you don't have to let it sit that long. I just was busy and did other stuff. Go ahead and measure it out, the actual water amount that you're going to want for this. I did this first because I was getting it hot and then I needed to let it cool. Typically I put these into ice cube trays and do the ice thing. It's a lot quicker if you want to do that, but you have to remember to go ahead and prep it like the night before. So if you don't have time, you don't have time, but today I'm going to show you kind of how that was a little bit different in the process too. The first oil I'm measuring out and that I want to talk about today is the avocado oil. Avocado is rich in fatty acids and highly oleic. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Which means it just deeply hydrates and nourishes our skin. It's great for dry, sensitive skin and mature skin types. Contains vitamins A, D, E, which help with promote skin regeneration and healing. Vitamin E, which is an antioxidant, can help protect your skin from damage. Helps soothe an irritated, inflamed skin and stuff like that. So we're using this because I'm adding salt to it, which is also going to be very exfoliating. So I want to put those oils and nutrients back into our skin, which I know they're not like technically all absorbed that way, but I digress. Typically the usage rate that we use for avocado oil in a soap is between 5 and 20%. I went a little bit higher today as 30%. We like to stay within those ranges because it has, you know, certain properties. This is going to make it more lather, a little bit more creamy conditioning. So depending on what else you're using, that's why you stay within those rates. You can modify however you want. I use the soap calculator. The next thing we're going to talk about is grapeseed oil. Okay, let's talk about grapeseed oil. It is lightweight, fast absorbing. It leaves a non-greasy feel on the skin. It's ideal for oily or acne-prone skin. It's rich in antioxidants, high in vitamin E. It also helps protect our skin from free radicals and supports healthy aging. Typically, this is not an oil that I use a lot at all. I use grapeseed oil in my recipes sparingly. I'm just doing something different in case somebody's looking for a recipe with it in there. The typical usage rate is between 5 to 15%. It is a mild lather conditioning but doesn't contribute much to bubbles. The shelf life is shorter, and this is why I don't use it a lot. It's between 6 to 12 months. So the shelf life on the oil itself is a little bit less. Also, I've noticed when I put it in some of my soaps, if I use it at a high percentage, which today I'm using it at the full 15%, or if I use it at all and the rest of, let's say the oil is close to expiration, sometimes we might get DOS, dreaded orange spots. If you're familiar with that, if you know about it, you know about it. I have a video on it if you want to do some more on that. But the grapeseed oil, again, is going to sometimes contribute to that. So I would use it on a lower end a lot of times. But again, we're adding salt to this, so I want more of those properties to shine through. And we'll see how this does. I'm going to be doing updates on some of my cold process soaps since I share the recipe about what the lather's like, and maybe do some shorts depending on how long they are. If for example, this one does get DOS, I'm going to do an update on that and be like, hey, it took 6 months or it took 2 years, whatever it was, if I still have some of the soap left. You know, I have a big family, we use a lot of soap. So I'm going to talk really quick about the hard oils that I'm using. I am using pig lard or tallow, however you want to call it, and I'm also using coconut oil. I'm going to talk about the pig lard or tallow first. It is hard, creamy, conditioning to the skin. It helps with the lather. That's another reason why I'm using the coconut oil. It helps with the lather. Coconut oil, though, helps more with the cleansing properties. Going back to the lard is more for a longer lasting bar. That's all of your hard oils, really, though. It's also very close to human skin. It mimics a lot of the same things as far as the oils that are in there. It's one of the closest ingredients we could get to that. It also is good for, you know, skin remedies and treatments of the skin. So it is, you know, good for the skin. It can be used at 100% of the fat in your oil or in your soap recipe. So if you want to do that, it's just like using an olive oil or coconut oil. If you want to use it at 100%, you can. I've never done it, but if you have, let me know. It has a creamy lather unless it's combined with other oils like coconut oil, which is going to help with the bubbles. I'm hoping the coconut oil brings good bubbles. The shelf life is pretty long on it as well. Soap made with lard closely mimics the fatty acids with the human profile of the natural skins or the natural oils in our skin, which is why it can feel very nourishing and less mild. I like to melt all my oils down too before I do this. I know a lot of people do that heat transfer thing. That's a little bit complicated for me, and I've heard some things where that can go bad, but you know, everybody's different skill level, everybody feels comfortable doing different things, so it's not wrong to do it that way. But while those were melting down, I went ahead and I started mixing my lye with the tea, and this is part of the reason why I put my tea or my water, I make ice cubes out of it a lot, because watch how fast this heats up. I am at like 2 or 3 scoops of this, and it is just heating up. I think at one point it goes all the way up to like 190 degrees, which was insane. I did have to slow it down a little bit, let it cool down. And then I let my oils cool down after I got all this mixed in, and that took about an hour. Here are some of the colorants that I'm going to be using. If you like the colors the way they came out, I just want to know, like, let you guys know, when I first started making soap, I didn't use colorants at a very high level. I didn't use colorants in a lot of my soaps at all. But if you are using micas, I always recommend using more than you want. Or that you think is going to be necessary, because it makes the colors more vibrant. It took me a while to get that under my belt. I'm also going to be using the pink sea salt. I'm not going to use it in all of it because I don't want a full salt bar. I do like pink sea salt in my bar. The only problem I have the last time I made a full sea salt bar is the bubbles were there, but they weren't there as much as I wanted. So I'm hoping to get the desired effect with this. Is going to be super exfoliating, because that's what I like about the pink sea salt, and that the bubbles and the soap still stays pretty good. The thing when you make a salt bar, though, I do want to say, is that the salt is going to pull a lot of the water out of the recipe, so I expect that part to harden faster, especially when it's curing. They might even shrink up more or shrink up unevenly, so it is important to make sure you let the soap cure the full 4 to 6. Now, as far as the grain size on the soap, I would recommend, for the sea salt, I would recommend going as small as you can. Get either a small or extra small, or extra fine, whatever you can find that is super, super tiny, because the tinier it is, the better. The big chunks of sea salt, they do look nice, but I would recommend using that for a different project, not so much for soap. Or if you're going to use it, just maybe a decorative property. Do not make it through your whole soap bar. You're going to like tear up your skin. It's going to be horrible, a miserable time. Because sea salt in general, especially the pink Himalayan salt, is very abrasive. We also have this wildflower fragrance that I'm using, so I put some floral topping on this as well. This is probably one of my new favorites from Brambleberry. I'm gonna wait to see how it cures to fully speak on that, but the smell on this is so divine. It's so floral, but it's also fruity, so it smells very fresh. It's not like a grandma perfume floral. It is just like you could smell the floral notes, and they're good floral notes. I don't know what's in it. I'm gonna pop it up on the screen here so you guys can see it, but I'm gonna add my colors, and I'm dividing my colors into about an equal, I just kind of eyeballed it. I didn't measure. If you want to measure, go ahead. Equal thirds of it, and then I'm going to use about half of the bag of salt that I had left. That was not a full 2-pound bag that I showed. Okay, it had maybe like less than a pound, maybe like a half a pound. So I'm putting quite a bit of the salt in there, and I'm just going to mix it with my spatula, because I don't want to blend it. I don't know if it's going to ruin the blades or dull the blades, so I'm just hand mixing it. You don't really need to blend it with your blender anyway. And I kind of just did it until it got enough of it in there where I felt like this was going to be a good soap bar. So I wasn't sure how long I wanted to let this cure for before I decided to pop it out of the mold. What I ended up doing, since it was a salt bar, and I know that salt bars can be a little bit harder to cut through with a knife, I went ahead and broke the seal about 4 hours after I had poured this. And keep in mind that, I don't know if you noticed this when I did the pour, the first layer that I poured, or the first bit that I poured, was the salt layer, because I figured that would harden up the quickest and it would be easiest to break the seal on the very bottom so I wouldn't have it sticking in the corners, and it worked out perfectly just like I thought. I did end up waiting about 16 to 17 hours to do the cut. I think it was perfect. The salt layer was actually getting very hard. If I would have waited much longer, it probably would have been a little bit more difficult to cut through. And since only about a third of the soap is actually the salt layer, it wasn't bad, but the other layers that are non-salt were still a little bit tacky. We did have some drag marks as I pulled the soap through. The first cut, you can see how it's a little bit choppy. I do want to say that the smell, it's been about 4 or 5 days since I cut the soap. It is still very, very strong. It's potent. It smells very floral, but it also smells clean at the same time. I asked a family member what they thought it smelled like, and they said it almost smells like laundry detergent to them, but not quite the same. So it is a clean floral smell. I think it's one of my new favorites. As long as it holds up, I will continue to buy this fragrance oil, actually.